Just a second, John.
All right.
She's coming through now.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Miss Pintier.
Good afternoon.
Hello, is it all right if I call you Carmen?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Good afternoon, Carmen. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's John Turner, the Democratic Services Officer for this meeting, and I'm assisted by my colleague Kate Sheldon, who is the host of the meeting. Thank you very much for logging on to this Zoom conference meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. The meeting is a public meeting, and to meet the new statutory obligations on public meetings will be live streamed for the public to view. For all participants, mainly for the public, if you see members and officers looking to the left and right of the screens during the meeting, they're not being distracted, they're merely looking at paperwork displayed on other devices. I'll now hand you over to the chair of this meeting, Councillor Karen McGowan.
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Councillor Karen McGowan. I'm chairing today's meeting. I'm going to now go through and ask everyone to introduce themselves. So, Joe.
Hi, Councillor Joe Otton.
Clive. Oh, sorry, Cliff. Sorry, Cliff.
Hi, Councillor Cliff Woodcraft.
Mary Claire.
Hi, I'm Mary Claire Frankie, solicitor to the subcommittee.
Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire Bauer from the Licensing Service.
Mark. Sorry, Mark, you're on mute.
Thank you. My name is Mark Parry. I am the Environmental Enforcement Team Manager with Sheffield Council.
Thank you. Sean.
Sean Bell, Animal Control and Enforcement Officer.
And Lindsay.
Lindsay Hodkin, Animal Health Inspector.
And Carmen, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, it's Carmen Bindown.
Thank you very much. So I'm now going to ask the licensing officer to introduce the report, please. Claire.
Thank you, Chair. The report today is to consider the review of a dog breeding licence. The activity is regulated under the Animal Welfare Act 2006 and the Animal Welfare Licensing of Activities Involving Animals Regulations 2018. Those holding a licence to breed dogs must adhere to conditions that are set out in schedules to the legislation and attached to the report at Appendix A. A local authority can at any time suspend, vary or revoke a licence if the conditions are not being complied with, there's been a breach of the regulations, the licence holder has supplied false or misleading information, or it is necessary to protect the welfare of an animal. And the decision to vary, suspend or revoke should be dependent on the severity of the situation. The holder of the licence is Carmen Pinter, and a copy of the licence is attached to Appendix B of the report. The reasons the case has been referred to you today are detailed at Section 4 of the report, and submissions from the Animal Control and Enforcement Team are attached to Appendix C to F. 4.3 of the report details the conditions that have been breached. There are no specific financial implications arising from the report today, but costs may be incurred if the matter goes to appeal. It's recommended that members consider all the information available to them today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is everyone happy with what we've just heard for accuracy, that that's an accurate report? Yep. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm now going to go over to, are you doing the report today, Mark? So if I can ask on behalf of Animal Control and Enforcement, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. As you've heard, Regulation 15 states a local authority may decide to suspend, vary or revoke a licence at any time on being satisfied that, amongst other things, it's necessary to protect the welfare of an animal. On the 27th of January this year, Ms Pinter pleaded guilty in court to failing to notify the Secretary of State of a trade import of dogs. In Appendix C, which you've had the papers, we outline why we feel the facts surrounding the conviction mean there is a risk to the welfare of animals covered by the licence. Ms. Pinter advised her she'd never seen the dogs and they were being imported as part of the breeding programme. Members will know that trade import needs a health certificate and notification to the Secretary of State and to be kept at the import address so the dogs can be inspected by a vet. We note that Ms. Pinter is now saying they're imported as pets, but we don't understand how this can be if she's never seen them. It's true you can nominate someone else to travel with your pets, which Ms. Pinter says she did, but this applies if the animals are pets, which clearly they were not. The reason for this relaxation is so that, for instance, a person can send their dog home from a foreign country if they're relocating, provided they're travelling back within 5 days. The 3 puppies weren't at Miss Pinter's address when officers investigated the import. They'd already been passed on to other addresses. If they'd had a disease, it would have already had a chance to spread. Miss Pinter says she made a mistake and forgot to notify the Secretary of State, but she also contrived to import the animals as pets, which doesn't require the notification. Further, Miss Pinter said she was familiar with trade imports. But we should not forget the bigger risk to animal welfare and public health. She was advised the 3 dogs were imported from Serbia and would have known that the rabies control measures had not been observed, but didn't notify the authorities. We have some further concerns which arose from visits made in June 2020, and you have the statements from Lindsay Hodkin and Sean Bell, who are here with us today. Officers on that visit found the maximum number of dogs allowed on the premises had been exceeded. They'd found that another Crompton dog had been imported from Romania, but was now an older breeding bitch, and Miss Pinter said we couldn't do anything about it as she was older, so couldn't be quarantined. And Miss Pinter had provided a false address in the import health certificate and made notifications to the false address. We also noticed after the conviction a post on the Barbarian Corso Facebook page, which is reproduced in Appendix C and still available today. We felt this post indicates Miss Pinter didn't understand that her actions had jeopardized the welfare of her dogs. She again claimed that dogs she'd never seen before were her pets. She also seemed to misunderstand the dogs being returned to her and expressed this as some kind of justification for her actions. In fact, of course, dogs could be returned as they had completed the required time in quarantine. We're bothered about some allegations that Miss Pinter makes about officers being racist. We're not aware of any complaints that have been made. Enforcement has to be evidence-based, and we deal with many nationalities equally. Legal imports referred to by Miss Pinter were alleged to have occurred in other council areas, so we suggested we should provide the evidence to those authorities. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to open it up now for questions from members. If either of the councillors have got anything that you want to ask at this stage of the report. Yes, Cliff?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I thought you got your hand up. And Joe, have you got anything you want to ask at this moment?
Well, I mean, there's a number of things I'm unclear about, but sorry, I'm slightly thrown here. Do we not normally ask the person whose license is in question if they're happy with the report?
Well, I was going to do. Yeah, I was doing this report. Then I was going to ask Miss Pinter if she got anything that she wanted to ask after we'd asked any questions. And then questions
on the report. Yeah, no, I haven't. Thank you.
Well, on Mark's what he's just said. Anything that you want to ask Mark at this stage?
No.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Cliff.
There was one thing in the report that I didn't understand. It said investigations, I'm looking on page 21, it said investigations confirmed one puppy had been sold, and Miss Pinter doesn't have a license to sell dogs. I'm just thinking if she's a breeder, surely she should be able to breed to sell dogs. I don't understand how this, why it doesn't go together.
Okay. Mark, would you like to, or one of the officers, would you like to answer that question?
As I understand it, Chair, a breeder can sell the dogs that they have bred, but not dogs that are brought in for sale.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, Miss Pinter, have you got anything that you want to ask at this moment? Just to let you know the process, if you can ask any questions of Mark and the officers now, and then I will ask you to give your statement of what you think, and then members will be able to ask you any questions. So if you've got any questions you want to ask Mark at this stage.
Yes, if it says that I am not allowed to sell dogs as a breeder, I will have dogs that maybe they're leaving my program or dogs that I bought for my program and possibly not be suitable. Does that mean that I can't sell those dogs? Any person can. So I don't understand, as a license holder, especially because I've been inspected, how is it possible for me not to be able to sell those dogs?
Which officer wants to answer?
Okay, thank you, Chair. We're referring to Part B in specific conditions of the Animal Welfare Activity of Animals Act. The licence holder must not advertise or offer for sale a dog which was not bred by the licence holder, or B, except from the premises where it was born and reared under the licence.
Right, and if that is an adult dog, how does that work? I mean, no, but there is nowhere in the legislation to say that you cannot sell an adult dog. Yes, it could be a dog. For example, I've got a dog that I imported from Italy. Again, all documentation and everything is ready. Let's say, for example, he develops in a non-suitable way. So obviously for the welfare of my dogs and the puppies I breed, I would not use that in my program. Does that mean I cannot sell that dog? Because it just does not make sense.
That's to answer that.
The rules and regulations do not cover every single aspect. Now, as a law-abiding citizen that has been destroyed by all these allegations, as a social worker who cannot practice any longer because of these accusations, I think that I should have clear guidance, not just me, any other breeder, especially as the law is not clear. It doesn't say anywhere that you can or cannot sell a dog that has come in as your dog for the program and it's not suitable. I mean, it would be in the detriment of my program and in the detriment of the welfare of my dogs to use a dog that's not past the cell tests, for example. But that doesn't mean I have to have, if I'm classed as a business, which again, I said I'm not a business, but besides the point, let's say for the example, the law says that if you sell a pup, you have to have a license. Fine, okay, so let's go with the fact that I'm a business. As a business, then any dog, besides that they're my absolute heart and soul, they are assets, right? So as a business, can you not sell one of your assets to recover costs? Again, obviously, all being done with the welfare of the dog in mind, but that's a different story. We're talking technically about selling now.
But
there are, at the moment, there are 106 adverts on Pets for Homes with dogs that are being sold, Cane Corso, I'm talking strictly the breed that I'm in, by people who do not have a license.
Okay.
When I went on and I got a license after being pressured, which is fine. Again, I understand that by law, I have to have a license. That's fine. I went ahead and I applied for my license and I passed the checks and everything else. Now, if I've gone through all the rigorous checks and I've been inspected and at no point was anybody concerned about the welfare of my dogs, how is it possible that 106 other people can sell dogs without a license? There's 3 kennels in Sheffield.
Miss Pinter, can I just stop you? You're at this point, you're asking questions of the officers, so you're not making your statement. So
no,
in a minute,
okay.
you will have a chance to say all of that and put your case forward. So if I can just ask the officers to answer your questions for you, that you've raised already. Let me let them just answer what you've asked already.
Apologise. So yeah, I'll repeat the question.
Fine.
If needed. So as a breeder, am I not allowed to sell any of my adult dogs that I've not bred?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You can sell and rehome any any dogs which are no longer fit for purpose
Right.
and breeding purposes, but the dog in question, which advertised for sale, was not bred on the premises.
No, it was not. But also, if you're saying they were imported on the commercial, which they were not, and I provided the evidence, then it wasn't fit for purpose for my program. So therefore, I could sell it. Is that correct?
I'm just referring to the license condition which says the license holder must not advertise or offer for sale a dog except from the premises where it was born and reared under the license. The dog in question was imported.
But that does not make any sense, does it?
That's
Because
any.
But we're talking about.
Can I just let him come and let me just let him answer the question, and then we can come back to it. So Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said before, Chair, thank you. The dog in question we talk about wasn't bred on the premises. So according to the Part B specific conditions, except from the premises where it was born, the license holder must not advertise or offer for sale a dog except from the premises where it was born and reared under the license. So the dog in question wasn't born and reared at the premises which is licensed.
Okay. Carmen, would you find it helpful? You've gone. Would you find it helpful to do your statement now, and then you can put all your points across and ask any questions? Would that be helpful to you?
Whatever is best. To be perfectly honest, I think I've already explained my point of view in the statement that I've provided through email. I think
this is your opportunity now. If you want to say it from your point of view now, if you want to talk us through what's happened and from your side of it, what you think, and then and then we can ask questions.
First of all, the 3 dogs that are initially in question have been in my other half's name. They've been registered in Romania under the official Romanian database of dogs with owners as his dogs. I did not arrange anything for the dogs to come over. I did not arrange anything else for the dogs to be cropped and docked. I've not arranged anything. All that was my other half's decisions and my other half's issues, which he admitted in court, and he's already paying for it in court. Now, yes, my mistake is I've not informed DEFRA. The reason why I've not done that is that every single time I imported a dog through Tracy's, the transport company did all that. Now, because the dogs were my other half's pets, I did not know that I had to inform DEFRA. So yes, I've put my hand up to it. I've been punished for that. And unfortunately, although it wasn't something that I've done, I'm still paying for it. But that should not affect my license. Even Sean Bell was saying that the dogs were kept separate from my other dogs. They're saying there are concerns about the welfare of my dogs. At no given point would I ever put my dogs at risk. And that's why the puppies, although I didn't know that the pups will arrive, I did keep them separate from my dogs to monitor, to see if they show any signs of disease, any signs of anything, any issues. Now, again, the licensing people, not the licensing, sorry, the animal enforcement team are saying that the dogs came with no health certificate. I am digging out her passport now to show. 2 seconds, I'm trying to find it because I forgot to take it out. The dog has been checked, and if you see, it did have, I'll share, I'll turn the camera around. So it says here, clinical examination, right? The date is 29th of the 10th, 2019. It says the animal is in good health and is able to withstand carriage to its destination. So the dogs have been checked by a vet. There was at no point not being checked. Yes, we didn't know because the gov.uk website says that the dogs can travel with somebody else. We've done that, and my other half asked me for me to do that letter of permission, which I did. So again, at no point was the welfare of my dogs compromised whatsoever. The visit in June, again, has been undertaken, and I've got video footage of that, of both enforcement officers visiting with no face mask in the middle of a pandemic, acting quite decisive and speaking. My other half, indeed, he didn't behave very well initially when he first opened the door. However, the way I've not at any point not complied. At every given point, I provided all the information I had. There were certain things on that, for example, the health certification. On the DEFRA side of things, I was registered with 2 addresses. Now, again, that is plain, simple mistake. They chose the wrong address when they input the details in traces. I've got screenshots of the communication with the authorized pet transporter, giving them the Sheffield address. However, because I was already in traces with the Sheffield, with the address in Doncaster, but mistakenly they selected that one and not the Sheffield one. If inspection was due, they would ring in advance anyway. So I would have just told them to come to Sheffield. I had nothing to hide at any given point, and I'm not going to start hiding anything. So intimidation, it just, the level of intimidation and the level of how things have been dealt with is just unreal. I had death threats. I had all sorts of threats because of all this, what's going on. I am the parent of 2 autistic children. I lost my job because of this, because of the actions that my partner did, which have nothing to do with me or affecting every single thing of my life. And it is just not fair. Every single time that the enforcement officers came before I got my license, they kept on threatening that it's 51 days of prison or £5,000 fine. Why is everybody else not subjected to this? Why are there 106 adverts on Pets for Homes just for my breed that none have license? There are 2 kennels in Sheffield that are kennels, they've got kennel names and so on, who don't have a license. They sell cropped and docked dogs brought from Romania. Whereas my other half brought 3 dogs that were his in Romania. And all of this has been literally on our heads. There is also the under FCI regulations, if we're talking about the cropping and docking, the FCI regulations clearly state, and I've attached the screenshot as well as the link to the official website of FCI, where they accept cropped and docked dogs in shows in countries where this is still accepted. Romania is part of the list of the countries where this is still accepted. So again, veterinarians are doing that procedure. Yes, my other half has lied to me because he knew I would not agree with it, having the puppies cropped and docked, bringing over and so on. However, they have been cropped and docked in Romania. We paid quarantine for the dogs that have been here, and at another address, the one that I placed, again, I covered all the costs. So that's another thing that if I didn't care about the welfare of the dogs, I would not have paid £6,000 in quarantine fees. To me, the dogs are my life, which again reflects in the loads of references that I received from my owners. So at no given point would I endanger the lives of my dogs, or would I put their welfare at risk? Now, regarding the point of the dogs that were at my address on the visit in June, the officers are saying there were 10 dogs, so exceeded the number I've got on the license. Out of them, those 10 dogs, only 4 females and 2 males were of breeding stock. I have a dog that's 10 years old in the house, Bella, that the officers are referring to. Now, I wouldn't breed a 10-year-old dog. Who would? I had the American Bully Rexy. Again, she's 6-year-old. So again, not a dog that could be bred because their lifespan is 7 to 8 years old. So again, that wouldn't be bred. I had Mina, who was a puppy. So again, not a dog that could be bred. And we had another one that we rehomed, who was retired from the program. Well, 2 that were rehomed and retired from the program. And also, yes, we did have the new dog, Mina, who came through traces, so commercial paperwork, and she replaced the dog that we retired from the program. At no given point do my dogs have more than maximum 3 litters in their lifetime, although the licensing allows me to have up to 6 litters in a lifetime. So again, the welfare of the dogs comes first. As I told you before, and I'll say it 1,000 times because it's the pure truth, the dogs are my world. Now, I have been subjected to racist remarks, to all sorts of reports from fellow breeders in the UK, and all those reports have resulted in a visit from the council. And every single time, I would be called Romanian pickpocket, I would be called a puppy farmer, which is not right. I am not one of those. I've never been, and I'll never be. I've got, if you notice behind me, the passion that I've got for the dogs is absolutely second to none. My dogs go abroad to shows. They get the best food possible. They get the best stimulation possible. We've produced champions over champions. I mean, I don't think that would ever be possible from a person who doesn't care about the dogs and who doesn't put their welfare first. So, yeah, there was the other point. I can't remember which one was the third point. But yes, so that's me.
Don't worry about it. If there's anything else, we can pick it up later. So thank you for that. I'm going to open it up to members now to ask any questions. If you want to ask questions, both Joe and Cliff, if you want to ask questions of officers or Carmen, I think we can at this point. Now we've heard both sides. So do either of you want to start and ask any questions? Yes, Joe?
Okay, yeah, I have a few questions. So, I mean, firstly, on the issue of the law about advertising or offering dogs for sale, there's a discussion about that at the beginning of this. It's not a law against selling dogs, is it? It's just a law against advertising and offering. It's like, I guess the law is trying to, I'm going to correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, is trying to regulate the way you do your business. And if your business is about is breeding dogs and selling dogs that you've bred, then in terms of what you offer to customers, then you shouldn't be offering to sell to customers dogs that you haven't bred, but you might make private sales or sell to trade an adult dog. I don't. That's how I would probably interpret that. But we're talking about in this case dogs that aren't adult dogs that are no longer wanted for breeding. We're talking about puppies that were brought in and then offered for sale. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, there was a puppy, yeah, that has been sold.
And there was a puppy that's been sold.
But
that does seem to be what do we think about what you might do with an adult dog? That does seem to be in breach of the law that Mr. Bell referred to.
Right, okay, but those were not my dogs. They were my other half's dogs. I understand that he has made me put an advert on the page. However, he was the one who's done that and not me.
Right. Okay. So, okay, I understand. But I mean, the page is your business's page. So it's. I think that this is why it's come onto you, isn't it? I mean, and if what you say is true, then it seems terribly unfair, doesn't it? But it's come onto you because it's your business and your license.
Yeah, but there is.
Fair? Yeah.
Yes. However, there is. Unfortunately, there are mitigating circumstances with that. The way I explained in my statement, in my written statement, which I can't say it at the moment, there is a reason why I couldn't challenge that. So I'm not sure if you've read the statement.
Yeah.
But there is a valid reason why I couldn't challenge something like that.
Okay, I think I know what you're alluding to in the papers, but I'm not quite sure how we can deal with this. I'll take guidance from the chair if possible. Let me move on to my next question. Were these 3 puppies pets in your view?
They came initially as pets, yes,
Well,
absolutely.
No, that's not my question. Sorry, my question is, do you believe they were pets?
Yes.
Okay. And so when was the decision made that they were no longer wanted as pets and they were going to be sold?
They were not all sold. One went with a friend in Spain. So the one at Rebecca's went with a friend in Spain. And one we decided, well, my other half decided that we already have a blue male. So if the dog grows well, we should just place it in a home. If it doesn't grow well, sorry. And then Mina that we kept and we still own her. And she's absolutely perfect, although she's been through a lot.
And is she a pet or is she part of your program?
She is a pet at the moment, yeah.
Okay. But they've been advertised, or 1 or 2 of them were advertised for sale through your business?
Just one, yeah.
Right, and that was, okay. And there was okay. There was okay, my next question. There was some discrepancy in the how they came to be cropped and docked, because you said in your statement just now that that happened in Romania. It said in the papers, I don't know if this is accurate or not, that they were cropped and docked in Serbia following injuries inflicted by another dog on them. Is that not true?
That is what my other half has told me. But that is not true. The dogs have been only in Romania. My other half told me about Serbia because he knew I wouldn't agree with the dogs being cropped and docked. So when they arrived, he told me, oh, well, they've been to Serbia because they were bitten and they've been cropped and docked, which is not true. They've never, ever, ever been out of Romania. They came straight from where they were born to us.
Okay,
they could have gone to Serbia. There is no possible way that they could have gone to Serbia, as initially stated by my other half, because there's border checks. There is no way that the pups could have been taken to Serbia to be cropped and docked and brought back to Romania.
Okay.
Definitely not at 6 weeks.
Right. So final question. In the papers, it indicates that when the inspectors came to you, you had 10 dogs, and that your license limit is 6. Is that correct?
That's 6 breeding dogs, yes.
6 breeding dogs. So the other 4 were what were they?
Retired dogs. I've got, for example, I'll turn the camera around. I've got Bella, who is 10 years old. As you can imagine, to me, the dogs are my absolute life. So although they're retired, it doesn't mean that they are going to be all rehomed. Some of them stay with us until the day they pass. Some of them we did rehome, yes. And one of them 10 dogs has been rehomed and retired. So again, we have elderly 2 that are not breeding dogs. We have 4 breeding bitches as per breeding license and 2 male studs. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's any of my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. And apologies, sorry, I thought my phone wasn't in this room and it was under some papers, so I do apologise for that. Mark, Cliff, did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
Yes, please. Just the one at the moment. On page 22, under additional information, it says that you are operating as an authorised animal transporter.
That's right, yes.
Lone wolf.
Yes.
Is that what you do?
Well, now, yes.
Okay. And when you do that, I mean, you transport dogs across UK and Europe?
That's correct, yes.
And do you comply with the regulations on when you do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And I've got all the licenses, both UK and European.
Yeah.
I have a vehicle that is, I've invested a lot of money to make sure, again, that the dogs have the best conditions possible. The vehicle itself stands at the moment within £30,000. So a lot of time, effort, and consideration has been put into ensuring the welfare of the dogs. So yes, everything is 1,000% compliant. I've got health certificates going back to June last year. Not health certificates, apologies. Transport certificates. Again, Lindsay Hopkins was saying that I've refused to listen. That is not correct. She's told me about the information that needs to be recorded and then sent me a copy of the transport certificate, which I have been using ever since. So it's absolutely by no means, if somebody tells me how to improve on something, I always improve on something. I've become an authorized pet transporter in May 2020 after what happened with the dogs. I said, I will make sure that it's a lesson learned and that any consideration for any import has to be done right. So that's why I decided to start my own pet transport company.
So this is subsequent to what?
It is subsequent, yes. I wasn't authorized at the time when this happened.
Okay.
I received my authorization in May 2020. And I have been obviously doing everything by the book ever since. It's not, I've learned from the lesson. I've paid for the mistakes. And what I'm trying now is I'm trying to keep my head above water, ignore the fact that I lost my job, which was a constant income, and concentrate on making sure that something like this would never, ever happen again. Because what happened was not my fault. I still had to make sure that all the regulation is known by me. I've done customs training. I've done everything to make sure that everything is done properly.
Okay, thank you. That's all for the moment, Chair.
Okay. I've just got a couple of things to ask. I think somewhere in the report I read that you part own one dog or you share a dog. You're saying that the other dogs were your partners, but am I right in that you do part share a dog? I saw in a report.
No, the dog that was the mother of those pups was cloned by my other half and one of his friends.
Okay. Can the officers, can you just clarify for me? I think you said that it's fine for the, what's it called, adopting of animals in Romania. Is that correct or not? Is that what you said, Ms. Pinter, that it is okay for it to happen in Romania?
It is still possible. There are legal loops.
Might be possible, but is it legal?
Yeah. There are legal loops, yes. It says that the law says that if it's for the preservation of a breed, then yes, it is possible, but just for the Cane Corso and the Doberman, as per FCI rules.
Right, okay. And also, I was just trying to find it, but I can't find it now. I've seen somewhere that it said that you were interviewed in 2013 for a similar offence and were given a warning. Is that correct?
That is correct, but that wasn't because that wasn't my fault. I've not brought those dogs into the UK. It was my auntie who did, and I clearly gave that. I helped my auntie to sell her dogs in the UK, and that is all that I've done at that time. So it wasn't a dog that I sold. It was a dog that was sold from my house because my auntie bred it. And then the other dog is still here, and this is Bella.
Right. Okay. I think that the thing is, the license is in your name, and so anything that happens, it doesn't matter who does it, you are responsible for it. And I think, you know, that's the responsibility of holding the license. But I'm going to go now to see if any officers, well, have the councillors, have you got any more questions before I move on? So have any officers want to ask any questions? Mary Claire?
Yeah, just a couple, thanks. Just in relation to the pets and the traces scheme, I'm a bit confused as to when looking at pets and looking at traces and looking at what you pleaded guilty to. You're saying that the puppies that were brought in were pets. But if they were pets, you don't have to tell anyone, do you? And you just bring them in on the pet scheme. You wouldn't need...
Exactly.
So why did you plead guilty in that situation? Because by pleading guilty, you've accepted that the traces scheme applied, and it's under that scheme that you're obliged to notify the relevant government departments. Or have I misunderstood?
Well, the accusation was that these dogs have arrived in the UK. They have arrived at my address, and I did not obviously inform DEFRA because, one, if they're pets, you don't have to inform DEFRA. But then again, I still did not inform them. So that's why I pleaded guilty. So there, we are working with the solicitor because we have been wrong, ill-advised. So we are working with the solicitor on that one because he is willing to provide a statement to say, well, actually, I've advised you wrong because you've not done it. So I'm not entirely sure how and where the appeal is at the moment. However, we have been wrongly advised by the solicitor because I explained to him that under the pets regulation and the fact that the gov.uk suggests that you can bring the dogs in with permission. Again, I provided the official evidence that they were in my other half's register, so they were his pets. But the solicitor kind of, I don't know what happened there. They missed that information. So basically, I pleaded guilty because I've not informed DEFRA. There wasn't, I didn't know what I had to inform, whom or why. Every single import that takes place is the transport company's responsibility to make those notifications. And obviously I know that now because I'm doing it every day.
Okay, I accept that you say you're appealing that conviction, but as it stands today, you pleaded guilty of not informing the department under the traces scheme and by instead using the pets scheme.
No, I pleaded guilty for not informing the DEFRA of the dogs arriving in the UK.
Okay.
That was the accusation.
Okay, thank you.
I've not informed them 24 hours prior for them to arrive in the UK.
Okay.
Now, if they were through traces, then they would have been informed, but because they were not, it's not the case.
Yeah, so yes, okay.
Thank you.
Now you say that your partner brings things in and it's nothing to do with you.
He doesn't, sorry, he doesn't bring things in. He did bring these 3 pups because they were stud fee for the mating that his friend had in Romania. So because he was due to give my other half money, he couldn't sell the dogs. So he said, well, do you want the dogs instead? To which my other half said, yeah, that's fine. Because well-bred, healthy dogs. So he said, yeah, that's fine. I'll have the pups.
Okay. Who owns the kennels and the business side of your business?
I do.
Okay. do you accept, therefore, as the business owner and the licensee, sorry, as the business owner then and the licensee, that the onus is on you to ensure that dogs that are brought into your kennels are imported in the right way, using the right schemes, and with all the necessary checks built into that process? Do you accept that the responsibility for that lies with you?
Absolutely. However, as I said, I did not know until they arrived in the UK. So I did not know they will be coming. Again, a lesson well learned. And from here on, it will be only me. Nobody will be allowed to make any decisions. All the decisions will be on me. Obviously, from what happened onwards, everything that has happened has been on me.
Okay, thank you. So you didn't find out until the pups pretty much arrived at your door that they were coming. What happened then with? Oh,
yeah, sorry, I had a call. I just rejected it. My apologies.
Sorry, it makes your screen all flash up, and you kind of ended up looking around for you again.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. So when these pups arrived, you've said that you quarantined them and you went through this process. Now, I don't really know how you would go about quarantining a dog, but other than kind of one dog staying one part away from other dogs. But it seems like it's a bit of a logistical juggle. But when you've already got 4 bitches and 2 stud dogs, how did you manage that sort of off the hoof in your kennels? How could you just tell me how you managed to do that?
Yes, I have a separate kennel which is at the top that has no access to the kennels downstairs, other than obviously if we allow access. So any new arrival comes and stays in the quarantine kennels. I'll put quotation marks because I use that to keep the dogs away from any other dogs. Now the dogs downstairs have literally no access to come upstairs. Therefore, they couldn't be in contact with the dogs that are upstairs. Now my kennels are, I've got one kennel at the top of the stairs. I'll try and explain, and then you go down 2 flights, 1 flight of stairs, sorry. And then the kennels are inside in a massive room. It's like a garage, but it's a lot bigger. And we have 4 kennels as you walk in on the left-hand side. And then we have another 3 kennels to the right-hand side in a separate room. And therefore, the dogs that are downstairs have no access to upstairs. Obviously, I still have the dogs that are in the house, Bella and Rexy, who are old, but that's different. So any new arrival goes in the quarantine kennel, away from everybody else for a minimum of 21 days, irrelevant if they've come through traces or, well, obviously I have not had any come through anything else other than those pups. So they literally, even Sean Bell admitted that when he first visited, they were in the upstairs kennel. So I prefer to work that way because I avoid them bringing in any potential things that they picked up from the moment they left to the moment they arrive here. Okay. And it was the same with the adult female that came in June. She was in the quarantine kennel as well, purely because of that.
But you've only ever used the traces route, if you like, rather than the pets one.
Absolutely, that was the only time I used the pets one. The only time. Well, I didn't. But...
So in terms of bringing the dogs in, then you seem to have you seem to import dogs fairly regularly.
Not for myself. For myself, I did import a few that all came through traces. I imported 3 that came through traces. And obviously, because I do the animal transport, I import for people contract me to bring their dogs into the UK that they purchase. So for myself, I only had 3 imports that they all came through traces,
Okay.
and documentation is available to be checked.
Thank you.
No worries. And also, sorry to interrupt,
No, sorry.
the traces document for Berry, the last dog that was found here in June, it was the immediate address prior to where we are now. So it was the address where we were just before we moved to Sheffield.
Okay.
And I've not given them, again, I have evidence of that in screenshots. I gave them the Sheffield address, so it was a genuine mistake when they've put the previous address directory.
Okay. Thank you. How many puppies do you reckon you sell in a year? How many litters and sort of a sort of average puppies per litter?
I would say normally about 3 litters. The maximum amount of litters that I had in a year was 4. But I had 4 years where I had no litters. So it really does depend on my waiting list. If I've got people on the waiting list, then I will have a litter. But I don't routinely do litters unless I've got homes for them.
Okay.
So you'll never see me advertise on Pets for Homes or any websites generally that I've got puppies, because I don't need to. We do have a waiting list because everybody knows my ethics and my morals and where I stand within this breed.
Okay, I think that's it for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Pam.
you. Claire, have you got any questions you need to ask at this point? No? Any more questions? Yes, Joe?
Yeah, sorry, can I come back on this pets issue? Whose pets were these 3 puppies?
My other half.
The other half. And when did they come into the country?
On the 2nd of November.
2nd of November. So and they were born in July, is that right?
That's right, yeah. I think, if I remember correctly. I'll have a look now.
It says July in the papers, so let's take that. And where was your other half? Who were they living with in Romania?
With my other half's friend who owns the female.
Right. Oh, because they obviously they don't want to be removed from their mother when they're tiny, do they?
No.
So they weren't living with your other half at any point until they came.
They were at my other half's address in Romania.
At his address, but he was living in the UK.
He was with me in the UK, yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's stretching the definition of pet a little bit, isn't it? If they're not living in your home, if an animal's not living in your home, is it really your pet? I mean, that's my question.
Technically, it is, but again, it's how it's interpreted. As I said, that none of that was my decision, and I understand that I should have possibly dug a bit more into it. But
I mean, you talk about finding homes for the dogs that you breed, and you wouldn't. If somebody was coming to you to buy one of your dogs, and you say, "I'm going to give it a good home, but I'm never going to see it again. It's going to be living with somebody else," you'd think that was a bit odd, wouldn't you?
Well, no, because I've got a contract in place that the people have to keep in touch with me. To me, as I said, the welfare of the dogs and the security of the dogs, it's always.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. So that's why it just seems very odd that these dogs were your other half's pets, but he hasn't. He may have met them once or twice. I don't know, but it doesn't. He doesn't care for them in his home as you'd expect anybody to do with their pets.
Yeah, well, I'm unaware of what decisions have been made. I know he did meet them in Romania when he visited, but that's I
Okay.
didn't know.
All right, thank you.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at somewhere. I remember reading that there was. You've just said that you know where they go to. So you've got the.
Sorry, my apologies. Somebody tried ringing again. Could you repeat the question?
You're mute, Karen.
You're muted, Karen.
Sorry. So I'll try again. You've just said that you keep in touch with the puppies and you know where they're going on to. But in the reports, there's one that you don't know who, you couldn't give the address of where it is and it couldn't be traced. Is that correct?
I did give the address, but for some reason, Rebecca didn't answer, I don't know what happened there. So I lost contact with that one. That was placed in co-ownership, as in guardian home to be socialized. It was not sold, it was guardian home. And it was my other half who arranged for that. But even so, I lost contact for a good couple of months. And then I just received a message saying, oh, dog's in Spain, it's fine, doing well. So I said, okay.
So just so I'm clear, that wasn't sold, so you've actually lost
No.
a puppy in effect.
That's correct, yes. Now I know where the puppy is, but I did not know for a good couple of, not even weeks, I think it was a good couple of months until I heard back from her saying the puppy is in Spain. So.
But as a caring breeder, I would have been really concerned, or I would have expected you to be really concerned about that, because anything could have been happening to that puppy at that point.
I was concerned. I was above myself, beyond myself, because I didn't know where it was. Even the pup that has been sold by my other half, we are still keeping in touch. And I've paid for, well, we paid for the quarantine fees. So it wasn't at any point that we were not concerned about the dogs.
Okay, thank you. Has anyone got any more questions? Oh yes, Cliff.
Yeah, just to clarify, in the statement of Lindsay Hodkin on page 42, there's this email from Dragan Nedeljkovic, where he says that he's a retired veterinarian living close to the Romanian border with Serbia, and that he cropped and docked his puppies. Is this the case for these puppies?
I don't know. I do not know. And even when Lindsay showed me that email, I had no awareness of its existence.
Right.
And I believe it was my other half who spoke to the owner, well, the owner of the mum.
Mm.
And I don't know what happened there. So I genuinely do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Marie-Claire?
Yeah, just quickly going back to the lost pup, if you like. But firstly, so your other half had gone over with one of your stud dogs, yes, to mate it with his friend's bitch. When he couldn't pay the stud fee, he gave you these 3 puppies. Sorry, let me just get that bit straight in my head first.
No, it's fine. So he didn't go over with a male.
Okay.
He had stored semen in Romania.
Okay.
So he did not go physically to do the mating.
Okay. So when your other half went over, what did your other half go over to Romania for?
As far as I was aware, he just went to visit relatives. I did not know about the pups until the day I knew when they left. He told me that they left. So it was 2 days. On the 29th, I believe, 29th of October, I found out that these pups are coming, and they arrived on the 2nd of November.
But so these pups were in payment for the use of your stud?
Of the stud, yeah.
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 Okay, with one of your other halves, with the mother that your other half and his friend co-own.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were these pups from? Were these pups part from that stored semen, or was this a different litter?
No, part of that store semen.
Oh, okay. So you get the 3 pups home. One of them goes on what do you call it? Sorry, guardian leave,
Yeah.
guardian care.
Yep.
With Rebecca. Who is Rebecca?
Rebecca is an acquaintance that is very, very good with dogs. So we said, we'll put the dogs. I like to do a lot of socialization. So my dogs have to be exposed pretty much to everything. As you can imagine, with puppies, it's difficult to do all at the same time because they become dependent on themselves. So after 21 days spent at my house, that's when we decided to get that one into socialization home. We kept one because it's easier to do the work with one here, but then we sent her to my friend in Doncaster to do a bit of one-to-one. And then she came back and she was taken from here, but that's different. And then the third is the one that went to Surrey.
And what's in Surrey?
The one that was sold by my other half.
How much did you sell it for?
I think it was 2,500.
Okay. So how old are these pups at this time? So when one goes to be socialized with one went to be socialized with Rebecca and one went to Doncaster to be socialized, how old are the pups at that time?
4.5 months ish. No, 5. I'm trying to think. 5.5. Because they were born in July. They arrived when they were 16 weeks. So that was 4 months. And then they left 21 days, almost 5 months.
Right, thank you. And what was this arrangement with Rebecca in terms of returning the dog?
The arrangement is usually, if it's a guardian home, they keep me updated with the progress. And then after the dog is health tested, so hips, elbows, heart checks, eyes, and so on, so everything, DNA, any available health tests are passed, that's when, and the dog has been shown, that's when they would potentially enter the program. So any single pup first has to go through all these stages before even considering being for breeding. And this is why I'm saying that every dog that comes into my home, be it through traces or not, well, it's not the case at the minute anymore, but they come as pets first, because you don't know if a dog will be good enough to breed. You can't breed before the age of 2, especially not in my breed. And also they have to pass all the relevant health tests. So but until they've passed all the relevant health tests, they cannot be classed as breeding dogs. And also I am FCI registered kennel as well. So for any dog to be bred, you have to adhere by certain rules. So a dog to be able to be shown, to be bred, it has to be shown. It has to be in an official FCI show, and they have to achieve at least 2 excellent results. Otherwise, you can't get pedigrees for the puppies.
Okay. So of the 3 puppies that we're really talking about, do you still have one?
Yes.
Okay. You never got the one back from Spain?
No, he's still in Spain at the minute, doing really well.
And did you ever get any money for the dog, or?
No, absolutely no money exchanged hands.
Okay.
We're hoping, because they've got a holiday home in Spain, we are hoping that all being well, once this COVID finishes, we can go and see it and see how it's doing. And possibly, let's see if it passes health tests and goes to shows, then it might probably use him. But again, at this stage, it's unable to say.
Oh, so you still might bring it back into the breeding program when he's 2?
Yes, but if that happens, it will come with all the relevant documentation and everything else. So as I said, I learned my lesson. I would absolutely never do anything like that again. So if it come in, it's coming, it will come. It will need anyway documentation to enter the UK now post-Brexit. So it will come with all relevant documentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Can I just ask you one question? Sorry, I'm not a dog breeder or anything, so I don't know much about dogs. But how many litters do you get a year? Is it 1 litter a year, or do you get more?
From one female, yes. I would never have more than one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So the maximum of litters that I could have in a year is 4.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions, anyone? No, right. So then I'm going back to Mark to say, do you want to sum up, Mark, and have a final, sum up your case and say your final bit, and then I'll be coming to you, Carmen, for you to sum up and be able to say your final statement.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just in the unmute. We'd understood from Carmen herself in an interview that she had said that the puppies were coming in as part of the breeding programme. We were surprised that the dogs could be classed as pets, being there's no contact between herself and them until they arrived. And in the papers for the case, we do point out that Carmen did say to the transporter that he could change the puppy's ownership into his name to bring them through as if they were his pets. So she must have known a bit earlier than
that is not correct. I've never.
Okay,
Carmen,
this is just about summing up now. You'll have your chance in a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay, it's okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Mark.
We feel that the court case has illustrated that we are right to bring a review to see whether Ms. Pinty is suitable for as a licence holder in view of the welfare of the issue about the welfare of the dogs. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, Carmen, this is your opportunity now to have your final say. If there's anything that you haven't said already that you would like to say now before we make our decision.
So all I can say is, how can you class, and I've not at any point said the dogs came as part of the breeding program. I've not said that. Sorry, my apologies. I had another call again. So at no point I said that the dogs will be part of the breeding program. As I said, for a dog to become part of my breeding program, the amount of thoroughness and the amount of health testing is absolutely unreal that I do. And not a lot of people do the amount of health testing. Now, you can't say a dog comes as part of the breeding program at the age of 4 months, because that dog cannot be bred up to the age of 2 years old. You don't know if it will develop well enough to be bred. You don't know. First and foremost, they are pets. We look after them, we take them out, they go on walks, they go on training, they get all the shows and everything else. They get stimulation, mental, physical, everything that they need. If we are lucky enough for them to develop, at that point, we will say, right, we would like to add 2 dogs to my license, please. But up to the age of 2 years old, I can't do that because I don't know how they will develop. The Cane Corso is known to have certain bloodlines with epilepsy. Unfortunately, it's not just those bloodlines, and that doesn't show until they're 2 years old. It would be absolutely not possible, or I wouldn't anyway, breed a dog under 2 because epilepsy shows between 10 months and 2 years old if it's genetic. Now, of course, I would never, ever breed a dog under 2 purely because of the fact that epilepsy can show after the age of 1. So although, yes, as the license says, you could breed a dog after the age of 1, up to the age of 2, the dogs are pets. That's it.
Okay.
So
thank you very much.
Again, it's very breed specific. And if there is anything about this breed, unfortunately, that I don't know, which is, well, very difficult because I have been in it for quite a while. they are, as I said, my heart and soul. I've learned from the lessons, as I said. I've received my punishment. I don't believe that somebody, and it shouldn't happen, that somebody be punished for the same thing twice. And if the court would have wanted me to lose my license, then they would possibly have said, for example, my other half was banned from ever transporting animals for 1 year. If the court would have wanted me to lose my license, then they would have clearly made that clear. Now I understand again.
I think just a clarification on that point. I think Marie Claire wants to come in.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
that's not the.
Yes, Marie Claire.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you, Carmen. The court doesn't have any responsibility over the licenses issued by the council.
Right, okay.
This is the appropriate route to consider the license element and your suitability as licensee. So although it runs parallel to, it's a separate decision, and this isn't one that the court can make. So we're not being duplicitous here.
Yeah, that's fine. I just
Okay.
didn't know, and I was thinking, I've paid for my mistake. Yes, it was a mistake, but I paid for it, and I've improved ever since. I've got all the information now. I know all the rules, all the regulations, and certainly will never happen again. Nobody will take decisions in my place ever again.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen.
Thank you.
I'm now going to ask Claire if you can give us the options, please.
Thank you, Chair. The options that are open to the committee today are to suspend the licence until a time the licence holder is able to adhere to the relevant conditions, to amend the licence, to revoke the licence, to impose a variation, suspension or revocation with immediate effect, to take no action, or to defer the matter for further consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Joe?
I just do have a question. If a license is suspended or revoked, what happens to all the dogs that are currently pregnant, I suppose?
Thank you. I wanted to ask that question.
Can anybody answer?
I don't know the specifics. Animal health are probably in the best position, but you wouldn't legally be able to sell them under the license, would be my understanding. So it would depend how many litters you've had in the year as to whether or not you would be classed as a non-licensed breeder. But Mark or his colleagues are probably in the best position to answer.
No, I think that's a fair summary. The whole point of the legislation is to allow an activity to happen. So unfortunately, if the license were to be revoked, the breeding activity with view to sale couldn't occur.
Well, sorry, that's not really answering my question. The breeding activity has already begun in the example I gave. So saying legally it can't occur is not particularly helpful.
It's the selling part of it, I think, and passing the dogs on to somebody else in return for cash, so on.
Is that okay, Joe? If you got your hand.
Right. So the puppies that might be born after a suspension of license could not be sold. They would have to be kept or given away gratis. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, right, Carmen, what would normally happen if we were in the town hall? You would be asked to leave the room now and sit outside and wait until we'd made a decision. But whilst we're on Zoom, we ask you to leave now, along with the other officers, and the councillors and the solicitor will stay and make a decision, and then we will let Claire know, the licensing officer, who will then notify you. Will it be today with the outcome, Claire? Would you be doing that by email or a letter?
If you can let me know the decision today, Chair, I can let Carmen know as soon as I find out by email.
Okay, so that should be this afternoon. Okay then, Carmen. So thank you for joining us today and for joining this Zoom meeting. I know it's not easy on a system like this, but appreciate you coming and joining us. Thank you to the officers as well for being here. And I'm going to ask Kate now if you'll remove people from the meeting so that we can make our decision.
Thank you very much. Could I ask one last question? My apologies. I would very, very much appreciate if it would be, sorry, somebody's trying to ring me. If it would be considered as, again, a mistake, and this is my only means of supporting the children, supporting due to my job loss. It's my only lifeline. My dogs are my life.
Okay, we'll take everything into consideration, but it's about the
Thank you.
license and the suitability of the license. Okay, so
That's
yeah,
fine,
we'll
thank
come
you.
back to that. You should note it later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate, could you remove the relevant officers and please?